الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يعبد الله على حرف فإن أصابه خير اطمأن به وإن أصابته فتنة انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة ذلك هو الخسران المبين صدق الله العظيم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من قال لا إله إلا الله مخلصا دخل الجنة قيل وما إخلاصها قال أن تحجزه عن محارم الله أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So your brothers and elders, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the people who you will find on the face of this earth who when it comes to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're very conditional. So a person will be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as the matters of his world is going correct, as long as his health is perfect, and everything is going perfectly fine, then that person will be obedient and will say, MashaAllah, look at what Islam is bringing me, look at the blessings Islam is bringing me. That same person, if the tide turns, he's the first person to turn against the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he might not say it, but he definitely has in his heart, because of lack of iman, lack of belief, and lack of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will feel that because of me following my religion, this is why I have gone back in life. So many people will say, if we were able to take a loan out from the bank, then I would be able to upstart my business and it would have a boost, and I'd be able to buy properties, and I'd be able to do so much. That person, he looks back and he'll blame the tenets of deen and the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, very few will openly say it, but some will feel it in their hearts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions them in the Quran where He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. That among certain people you will find that their love and their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very conditional. Right? Today we say that like me and love me unconditionally. Right? Don't attach anything to that. Right? Love me for who I am. Right? Don't blame me for my defects and my faults, but love me for who I am. Right? Be with me for who I am. And that person who is with you for who you are, and he doesn't love you for your wealth and your position, that person you should keep close to. Because he's not driven by materials and he's not driven by other motives. Right? And those types of people and friends are very hard to come by. And when you do, you can recognize them and you would give your life for those people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that amongst His slaves, you're people who are very conditional when it comes to the obedience and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ فَإِنْ أَصَابَهُ خَيْرٍ اطْمَأَنَّ بِهِ وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة ذلك هو الخسران المبين. Good comes to them, they'll say, man, look, this is the honor of Islam. Look, I'm following Islam, and it's been given to me. As a matter of fact, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, it comes in a hadith, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, hadith al-Qudsi, there are certain people, if I was to test them, they would be the first ones to turn away from me. And the flip side to that, if there are certain people who I was to give them wealth, they would be the first people to turn against me. Right? For example, a person has all the time, if he doesn't have a job, or he has a basic job where he only is doing part-time or whatever it is, that person, mashallah, is coming to the masjid, he has nothing but time. The moment Allah tests him a little bit, right? He gives him wealth, He gives him a little bit of position, he makes him a supervisor, makes him the boss, his business takes off, he gets a little bit busy, to test that person. That person is the first to turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what happens is, now he gets all these engagements in his life. Right? So a person is a bachelor, he's living the single life first, MashaAllah, he's coming to the masjid, right? And he says, I have all the time, I come to the house of Allah. Now he's making dua, that Allah find me a pious wife, find me a pious wife, find me a pious wife, right? Now he's coming to the house of Allah, he's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's making dua. Right? Time goes by, Allah blesses him. Allah blesses him with a really good partner. Right? He gets married. Now engagements start, where now he has certain engagements where he has to spend a certain time with his family, so on and so forth. And then what happens is that same person who was in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala slowly detaches himself from the house of Allah, and then he attaches himself to what Allah has blessed him. And the being that had blessed him is the first to forget about it. How many times does that happen? A person asks Allah, oh Allah, give me children. He's in the masjid, he's making dua. After every salah, you'll see he sits extended periods of time and he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah bless you with a child. That person has been given a child, and then after that, the engagements come and he's busy with that child, so much so where the person doesn't have time, he only makes it for Jumma. Same thing with any aspect of life you find. Right? A person wants a job, he comes, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he's given that job, then he can't even make time for Jumma Salah. That person cannot even take off time to come for Jumma prayers. Right? And what at one time he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of this, and Allah had blessed him, and then after that, he was the first to turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was a test of also Ibrahim alayhi salam. Right? Although the prophets in reality didn't need tests. They were prophets for a reason. Allah had already seen something within them. But even then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted them to lead by example. In this world, you will find a person who is a leader. He is not leading by example. The person who makes the laws on how a person should morally be correct, how a person should be living his life, what wrongs he should not be doing. The same person that makes the law and brings the bill into the Constitution and he gets it passed, that same person, if you look at his life, is totally against what he's fighting for. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his deen is such, and the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that any person that gets close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make him lead by example. Allah will test him first and foremost. It was the case with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was the case with all the alayhi salatu wassalam. Right? Even the Prophet of Allah, one time accidentally, right? Being a human being, and it's not even it was in his heart. Right? He accidentally told the person that I will give you the answer tomorrow without saying inshallah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala withheld revelation for a month. Different narrations and different time frames. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala withheld narrations. And then the Prophet ﷺ perturbed, like, I have to give this person an answer. It's been time, I don't have an answer for this person. What is that person going to say? Right? And he's trying to figure out what went wrong. Why is revelation being withheld? Right? And this is again the Prophet ﷺ, he knew for a fact that everything was done by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him lead by example. And he said, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. Then, O Prophet of Allah, don't ever say that you will give an answer tomorrow. Don't ever say that you will do something tomorrow. But always attach inshallah with it, that it's only through the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will I be able to give you an answer. Something which is very simple, we don't even think about it. And it wasn't even something which was impermissible that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did, na'udhu billah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him lead by example. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala withheld revelation, and then he had mentioned it in the Quran also. So similarly with Ibrahim alayhi salam, he wanted a child, he was being given that child, and then Allah wanted to test him through that same child. Then now I want you to slaughter that child for my sake. Now it's the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Your work starts 7 o'clock, salah in the masjid is 6:30. Right? You've been given that job, it's a great position, Allah has given it to you. Everything is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now are you going to take that extra time to sleep in? Or are you going to take time to go to the masjid and go to the job? Right? These are all tests that are going to come. A person comes back tired from work. Salah is 10 minutes after he gets home. Is he going to be able to come to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That being who gave him that salah, that being who gave him that job, and he's going to come and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do the ibadat of Allah, or is he going to just relax and maybe I'll pray at home, or maybe I won't even pray? Right? So these are all things that will come into play the moment a person is getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will test that person. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these people, some people will be conditional, goodness come to them, they will say, wow, because of Islam, I've been given this, I've been blessed. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ انْقَلَبَ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. Now the moment Allah tests that person, the moment something goes in his life, where he's told to make ruju ila Allah, when he's told to make and go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that person is the first person to turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And look at this Islam. Because of this Islam, this is what has happened to me. Again, no one will openly say it, but with the actions, right? They say actions speak louder than words. And so with the actions, that person will claim to say that whatever I've been given is because of me. If I do it myself, and if I turn away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test you in such a way where He will give you on the basis of you staying away. Right? So many people will say, man, what do I get? Right? Look at me. I built this empire and I built this business. I don't even pray Salah, I come for Eid. Right? All I do is I don't hurt people, that's all. So if success really was to be brought by Salah, then why am I being successful without reading Salah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that person be tested until the day of judgment. And until that person leaves this world. At that moment, the person will realize what true success was and what true failure will be. So many people of the world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them more. Because Allah doesn't measure success by how much a person has. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَىٰ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Allah never and will never measure success on the basis of how you look, what you wear, how much wealth you have, what possessions you have. It's never on the basis of that. And a believer never looks at that. Contrary to what people do nowadays, right? That person who you see, who has a little bit of money, he drives a nice car, everybody wants to be around him, want to be close to him. That person, when he walks into the masjid, everybody wants to get up and say salam to him. But the regular person who's in the masjid 5 times a day, sits in the corner, he's just makes the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't have much in terms of wealth. Right? That person no one even wants to go meet. Whereas in reality, if we knew the honor and respect that that person will get on the day of judgment, right? People will go and specifically go and search these people and want to be close to these people. Right? That's why I was asked to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that who should I surround myself with? What type of people should I keep myself around? Right? Business-minded people, people that have money, people that have made good decisions in life, or what type of people should I keep myself around? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, الَّذِينَ إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. That those people, when you look at them, it doesn't remind you of wealth. It doesn't remind you of status. But it reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person, every action of his, it reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person, when you see him, you say, oh, I saw him in the masjid. That person, when you see him, you say, oh, this reminds me of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That person, when he deals with you, when he talks with you, his character is such that it reminds you of the character of what you hear about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, those are the people who you should keep yourself around. Right? So in this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that person go through situations. Right? But those situations are not there to weaken a person. But they're there so that a person can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many ulama, how many scholars? Because of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were put into torture. They were punished. They were put behind bars. Right? And they were not, unjustly they were put behind bars. Years before. But that only made them stronger. It never broke them. It only made them stronger and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So this is what we also need to bring into our life. That every single action that comes, every single situation that comes within our life, it's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's there to get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not there to break a person. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never test a person more than what that person can bear. And no matter how hard you feel your situation is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never test you more than what you can handle. And every single situation is there for a person to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for a person to get forgiven. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and with this he said, عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ إِنَّ الْأَمْرَ كُلَّهُ خَيْرٌ. And that it's amazing, I find, the situation of a believer, how much Allah has blessed that person. And no matter what situation that person is in, it's good for him. He's being blessed with wealth, it's good for him. He gets happy, rightfully so. Right? Sometimes Allah tests him with taking away his wealth. Allah tests him with some situation, some health aspect that the person has to deal with for years, sometimes even lifetime. Rasulullah said, even that is a blessing for you. Why is it a blessing? Because on the day of judgment, when you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will be a means of your forgiveness. That will be a means when people will be thrown into the fire of Jahannam, you will be from those who will enter into paradise. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, because I tested you and you had patience on my decree. So we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us with goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make us go through hardships. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a good life. We'll have a few announcements, inshallah.